I can tell from that is there's an exclusion from the mother. And so you're pushing the mother away, which is half of who you are. And our parents and our ancestors are where life comes from. So the capacity to which how much we can take in from life, the source of wherever life comes from, that's how much we can take in the goodness of life.
Welcome to Tapping In. Today we're going to learn all about family trauma, and we are joined by Alexis Gonzalez. Now, she is a family constellation facilitator, and she's been doing this work for nearly a decade, which is incredible. Today, she's going to share her wisdom with us and give us tips and techniques to help us. So I'm super excited for you guys to meet her. Here she is, Alexis. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be able to be here to share about family constellations because it is my life's work and what I really love to do. So yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm so happy to be here.
So how did you get started? Like, what was the inspiration to get you doing this work?
Wow, that's a big question. So, I mean, I could talk for hours about it, but in
Keep it short.
short, but in short, I have been, you kind of mentioned about 10 years. I started when I was 19.
Okay.
So like many people, there was a lot of hardships that led to my spiritual journey. And I feel like that really kind of opened up my questioning about what is the meaning of life, or why am I here? What is happiness? So a lot of philosophical questions as well, just like human existence. And so I went on a journey. So that's what my book is about. So for 10 years, I had been searching for my own healing and learning things like Ayurveda, yoga. I mean, everything that you can think of, I probably have
all
heard
the
of
tools.
it.
You're like, I need to learn it all.
And it was for myself. So it wasn't for anybody else. I wasn't thinking I'm going to be a teacher of this.
That's the best way to start, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's like when you read about it or do it and you get that spark and then you feel the shift, that's where I feel like, oh, this work is so good. This work is so useful.
Yeah. And you get to be an example because you know what it's like from all facets, from that dark place leading into, oh, life can be so beautiful. And so that's kind of what the book is about, is to inspire people who are in that dark place to know there's always a light at the end of the tunnel as well.
Amazing. So now how does family constellation work in all of that? Yeah.
So what I was going to say is family constellations didn't come until I would say like year 7 or 8. So I had gone to the jungle with someone that I worked with, and we did ayahuasca in the jungle with shamans.
That's always
there.
fun.
Yeah, not really, not always fun. So deeply healing.
Yes.
So sometimes healing is not the most fun thing.
Right. It's true. As you're vomiting, you're going to the bathroom, you're sweating, you're like, it's so romantic. So good.
So, but that woman who took me to the jungle, her name was Karen, and she had her own company, and I worked for her for about a year. And then I was going through a lot with my own family at the time, and I kind of opened up to her about it. And she told me, I know somebody who works with families. She didn't tell me what it was called. And I ended up actually meeting, her name is Sonia Arias. She's my teacher, my family constellation teacher. And I jumped right into training. So facilitation training without even doing a constellation or Googling it. She's like, okay, let's do it.
I'm doing it. Yeah.
And so I lived with Sonia for a whole year. So it was like day in and day out learning
that's amazing.
from her 16 years of experience. And so this book was actually made while I lived with Sonia.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, and it came out 2022. So it's been a few years now.
That's perfect. So it's been out for a while. So now doing the work for you, what was that like? Because I know I did a little bit of the family constellation, and it is incredibly powerful work when you're able to not only be a participant, like where you're having the healing done to you, and then the other thing is a representative?
Yeah, so there's a client who comes in with an issue, something they really want to shift and transform, because this isn't the kind of work where you just come in and you say, I want to see what's going to happen in my future. Right. Like you have to be very involved in your healing and want something to change, because otherwise, for me, ethically and morally, that's how I was taught, was you can say no if you feel like the person isn't wanting to do their own work, because I'm not the one doing it for you. You're coming and saying, I'm ready to open this up.
You're talking about a client that comes
to
you?
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. So client.
Yeah.
And then the people around, so it could be done one-on-one. People around, we would call them representatives or group participants. And that's if it is group constellations. And yeah, they come into, we open up something called the morphogenic field, or healing field. In physics, it'd be called the quantum field. And yeah, I dive into what is the issue. So let's say you come in and you're like, okay, I can't make more than this amount of money.
Okay.
And so I'll ask you different questions. Sometimes it is connected to family members, and I would say probably all the time it is connected to ancestors. Whatever our family has done before, whatever their beliefs were, because we carry it genetically. And science will back it up about epigenetics of how powerful our genetics and what we carry leads to what kind of choices we make or what we believe we can receive. And so, yeah, I would ask different questions because Bert Hellinger, who's the founder of this work, he would say, well, he would say, it didn't start with you. So whatever it is currently, probably if it was with money issues, it would be like you're not receiving life from those who came before you. So if you say something to me like, my mom didn't do this, or my mom didn't love me the way I think I should have been loved, what I can tell from that is there's an exclusion from the mother. And so you're pushing the mother away, which is half of who you are. And our parents and our ancestors are where life comes from. So the capacity to which how much we can take in from life, the source of wherever life comes from, that's how much we can take in the goodness of life, right? So,
wow, that's huge.
Powerful.
That's so, like, I'm already like lit up. I'm like, look at these little irons.
I felt it too, yeah.
Yeah, you feel it, right? Well, because it's such, and that's what I love about healing is when you receive that download, because I automatically feel like there's an awareness. And when you're open to receiving and letting go, I almost feel like the healing happens instantly. It doesn't have to take years.
Well, yeah, people will say, I've been doing therapy for 5 years, talk therapy, or I do cognitive behavioral therapy,
right,
or all these other things, and I do one session in constellations and my life has changed. Like I've heard of people who they couldn't have children and they did it like 1 or 2 constellations and then it opened up for them to be able to carry children. So
exactly, because there could be past blocks, past trauma. Now, does it also carry into past lives? Or is
so on my podcast, it's called Entwined, the Constellation Chronicles.
Okay.
I spoke to a facilitator who's from Israel. Her name's Yael Aini, and she does that. She does karmic healing, so from past lives, things we carry. So that's kind of her expertise. It's not mine as a facilitator.
But I love that, just all the different
energies. Everyone brings in their own kind of flavor to it. So yeah, some people do past life constellations actually.
So that's so great. So when you work one-on-one with somebody, you would ask those questions like, how was your relationship with your mom, or how was your relationship in your family? Now, do I bring in my mother's energy in a session with you? Is it almost like voice dialogue? Do I step into the energy? What does that look like?
Yeah. So on my podcast, there's also a teacher. His name's Gary Stewart, and he taught my teacher, actually. He was very close to Bert Hellinger. And when he actually helped him bring it to the US. And he had this conversation with me where he was telling me that Bert Hellinger taught him when you're doing a constellation as a facilitator, you're like the newest member of the family. So you're opening up the field to show something to you. So you're kind of like the newest member. And what happens is I open myself to receive, we call it the field as facilitators. I'm receiving the questions, the next best question to ask you. Or maybe I'm feeling like on your right side, you feel a little bit more hollow than the left side. So maybe you're closer to your mother's side and you pushed your father away. So yeah, when you asked me the question of what happens in a session. So
but that was a great description. Yeah. So it's almost like you tap into me, right? You open up the field, and then you get a download of questions to ask the person. Mm-hmm. And is it like you're channeling the information, and it's almost like you're the representative giving them back the information of what you see happening around me?
It's a little bit different than channeling, because I've learned about channeling as well. It's a little bit different because you're like embodying the energy of this thing. Okay. So what I was saying earlier, it connects to this because it's like the field is showing me something because of my openness to open to this expansive kind of energetic field.
Yeah.
And so when we have the group session, I might ask someone, will you come step in, represent her mother? And will you come in, step in, and represent as money even? So it doesn't even have to be people. It could be the energy of
I
things.
didn't know you could do that.
And then choose someone to represent the client. So the client gets to see this whole thing play out in front of her. And then it's so miraculous because it's like the mother will say something and then the client will be like, my mom would say exactly that, or this is exactly what my family is like.
That's the part that I find so fascinating about this work that makes me think how powerful we are without even realizing it. When you see how in the family constellation, people that have no idea who they're representing can actually, I'll say channel again, but become the frequency, like they tap into that channel and it just flows through them. And these aren't experts. These are just normal people doing the work, right? Yeah. And that's where I find it so magical. And I think to myself, how often are we doing that throughout the day and we don't realize it? Where you may be talking to a friend, right? And they start talking about a family member where you may unconsciously pick up this frequency without realizing it. And
yeah, well, that's my company, Vibrate to Create. You are energetically emitting a specific frequency that shifts whatever you see outside of yourself. So, like my teacher has shared about being insecure about something, and when she had that security, it was like the world kind of showed it to her by having these players come in and say something about her appearance, right? But the moment she let it go and it healed it and really had a lot more self-love, there was such a big difference in what she saw in the outside world and what was coming towards her.
Such another great lesson. Yeah. Like, what is the outside world still teaching me? What do I still have to release? What's still triggering me? And allowing yourself and knowing what is it inside of me that I have to change? What is inside of me I have to let go of, to surrender, to allow this love to come through.
And I love seeing it that way because it puts you in a place of power, of this is what I can change, is whatever's inside. And my teacher really drilled that into me specifically, was like, you have the power and you get to change however you would like to in this world. Yeah.
And what I love about it too is I feel like you're less identified with it. Like so much of the therapy, not to put down talk therapy because everybody's got their different therapy that they like. But what I find with when you're just talking about it, I feel like you're stuck still in the third dimension of like, this is what I did. This is how I felt. And you just keep repeating that same story, which still makes you feel bad. Whereas when you work in this energetic realm of seeing everything around you, being able to witness it, being able to play out all these different characters, you're less attached to it just being you. And you give yourself space to change because, again, you're not identified with the emotion. You're not identified with that part of yourself. And you know what you want to become. You want to become bigger. You want to become more playful. You want to become happier, or you know what I mean? And this work kind of allows you to have a different perspective.
Yeah. And I guess the way that I was trained, it's not always like I might even have the client come in and stand next to whoever's representing her. And even that, and it's not always, because it's more like I'm guided by the field that this would be helpful for her if she actually feels the energy of being in this. And yeah, sometimes you yourself will process the emotion. And I feel like that can be a very powerful way too. So it's not always, it's not always like I'm just seeing it outside, but sometimes you're stepping in, and that can be more powerful because you can see from this higher perspective of all these things you just shifted. How does it feel now that things have shifted? How does it feel when you look at your mother? Now that this person has helped to open up the field and allow those things to move through. It's really beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And I think what's cool that maybe you can share is also how it shifts the people around you.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Doesn't that happen? Where all of a sudden it's like you shift that relationship with your mom, and then maybe she's responding to you differently, or maybe you see her differently. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of personal shifts in my life, and also I've heard so many stories of other people. We don't do this work for changing somebody else because that would be, against their own will. They didn't come in for that. So I always say that when I do group sessions, like this is for us and only us.
Correct.
Although obviously, like genetically, you're connected to whoever is behind you and whoever is after you, so your children. And yeah, like I had a friend who both her and I were in facilitator training, and we were both working on grandmother side. And then she said she went home And that weekend, grandmother decided to just take out her whole garden, pull everything out, and she was like, I'm just restarting everything. And then, yeah, for her, it was just such a beautiful symbolism.
Wow.
The grandmother didn't know anything about, like, this
That's my
is what
favorite
happened,
part,
right?
when they know nothing and you see the shift inside of them.
Yeah.
You're like, this work is so powerful. Like, we have no idea, right?
She wanted to restart her whole thing that she grew and was like, let's start brand new. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Especially when
That's
you
just
know
a cool
grandmothers
story.
and gardens. I mean, for her to rip it out, right?
So much time in here.
So much time. Right?
But like, yeah, that's what it is. Our ancestors, so much time that led to this moment.
That's amazing. And then what are some really big shifts that maybe you've seen in people's lives? Was it like financially? Was it in a relationship? Like, was there one client relationship where you were just like, pow?
Oh, man.
You're like, who to give the credit to for that one? I'm sure you've had thousands.
Yeah, well, I think just for myself, being able to see the shifts has been really powerful. But I spoke at the Energy Healing Conference in Utah, and you can see the full thing on my YouTube channel. It's like an hour long.
Okay.
That was my first time doing it in a public setting. With, I think there was probably like 60 to 80 people there.
Amazing.
And that girl, her life has shifted since that day. And I'm so happy to get to see her on Instagram, like talking about her life. And we really dove into inner child healing and her own self-love. And she's completely shifted everything about her life, how her house looks, the relationship she was in. I mean, her own diet, like everything has changed for her just from her opening up to that self-love. And sometimes it doesn't look so pretty. Like, it might be painful if that relationship is ending that you really thought you wanted.
Yeah.
And you can't see till much later, like, thank God that I really went on my own path. And I've seen that for myself, actually.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, my own empowerment of like, I really love my life now, and I'm so happy that that set me free so that I could go do things like this, or go speak in front of 80 people, or, you know, make these other relationships that are really beautiful and much more aligned with my higher self and what my purpose is here. So, yeah, sometimes you're sad to let them go, but it's really beautiful in the end for yourself.
Yeah. And so important.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything anybody can practice at home or while they're by themselves to kind of get them started in this work, or is it usually done by a facilitator?
Well, a facilitator is really helpful.
Okay.
You can definitely open up the field yourself. Like, you place something for maybe you're feeling an emotion, like let's say sadness. Okay. You can put sadness in front of you, or and then just kind of see how you feel inside. So it's kind of tapping into the energetic field, and then step onto sadness and then feel what comes through. If it's something like you really feel like you want to move through and like face, it can be really helpful. Or even like if you have a piece of paper, you can write something down and then kind of play around with it that way. That was part of my training, was like, maybe it might have said a mother who lost a child, or it says something like money issues. I don't know, whatever you think of or whatever you'd like to work through. Then you hold that thing and then tune into your intuition. And then it can kind of help you to see how accurate am I, or how present am I to receive the information that's coming, and how present can I be. And then, yeah, it was so interesting because I would like pick it up and I'd be like, oh, I know exactly what this is. I know exactly what the issue is. And Doe's always right. Just open up the paper and you're like, yeah. So that's something. And also my podcast, it's with facilitators from all over the world. Oh. So Martijn Maima is from the Netherlands. Gary Stewart's from Arizona. So just a bunch of leaders and facilitators. I think that's a really powerful place to look as well.
That's so powerful, because what I love about that too is you're all sharing the frequency, and you kind of, I feel like the field starts to get stronger, because when one of you does the work, it's like you are able to hold more light, you are able to hold more energy, and then connecting with other like-minded people, that entanglement just accentuates the power of that, which makes you more grounded, right?
Well, yeah, facilitators, it's also like a family system, because they get passed on all the knowledge that the last one had. My teacher says something like, you're walking on the backs of giants or something like that, because those are the people who paved the way for this to come to the US, for this to leave Germany, for this to go all over the world. So it's like in Italy, Turkey, like everywhere. And so I am so grateful for the people who open the doors for me to be able to sit here and share it with others as well. I wouldn't be here if they didn't pass it down.
What would you say to someone who feels stuck, but they're not sure if their issue is family related?
I say it's always probably family related.
You're like, it's always family related.
Well, yeah, I mean, things that we carry from our childhood, maybe there was just one little thing that was said and then it made us turn inwards and think we're not good enough. And so, and in our adulthood, we might choose relationships where we still feel not good enough because this is what we heard when we were younger or what we took in unconsciously.
Mm.
So, yeah, at least anybody I have worked with is always dealing with our ancestors and what comes before us.
And then how do you prepare yourself energetically before you're going to see a client? Like, what are some things that you do?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, whenever, because I travel, so I've been to Colorado, Utah. When I go to a new space, I'll usually bring, if I'm allowed to, like sage, Palo Santo, and then I might do like a 10-minute meditation beforehand, just to get myself centered and present so I can be the most open for the session. But yeah, it doesn't require a huge amount of,
Work.
Yeah, or setting up or anything. It's mostly just in the moment when you're working with them, just being present and in your body and ready for whatever comes and surrendering.
Do you feel
to
like
whatever
you have more
happens,
trust
yeah.
for yourself now?
Oh yeah. In my first, like I told you, the energy healing conference, it takes so much trust to know like the field will tell me who to choose or who's ready to work, and it'll just play itself out. Like I can't say what's going to happen or what the representative will feel in that moment. It's mostly just kind of like riding the wave of that specific point of time.
Totally love that, because I feel like when you're in those moments, the universe always has your back. Like even if you try to plan it or you think, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to approach it, as soon as you're in that space, it's like whoosh, that all moves to the side, and you tap into this higher part of you that always knows so much wisdom, and it always feels so good. Right? It just like it always feels so frisky and loving and expanded. And
yeah, well, that's what you do here.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, doesn't it feel good? I know, it's like so yummy. I mean, that's what I love talking to other people that do the work, because I'm just like, doesn't it feel amazing? Like sometimes I'll catch myself, I'll be doing a meditation for one group of people, and I'm like, I hear the lower mind like, oh, don't forget this meditation. We have to write it down. And I'm trying to make notes. And at times I could feel the split of the third dimensional mind, almost like not wanting to forget all this great information that's coming through me. And I have to pause. And it's almost like talking to a child, like, hey, it's okay. Like when you need this information anytime in life and you settle, you take a deep breath, it comes through you. It's my limited third dimensional mind that's filled maybe with those programs where it feels like, oh, you're going to forget, you have to write it down, or the ADD mind where it's just like, scattered. And I'm like, I feel the difference of that mind where it's like a little chicken with the head cut off compared to when I'm tapped into the higher knowing, where it's so calm, it's so yummy, and it's always loving, right?
And there's no lack of like you can't access this again. Yeah, that's what I learned from my teacher as well. When I was in facilitator training, it was mostly like the presence is one of the most important parts. So she would even say, you don't have to take notes. Like you're subconsciously, the more you do this, the more you're in this, you just get it. You don't have to remember it. You don't got to make a bunch of notes.
I know. Trust.
So yeah.
It's almost like traveling just with you. Like you don't need to bring all these bags. You don't need to bring all of this stuff. I mean, is it good sometimes and you want that support? Sure. But you start to realize like, it's okay. And we're all okay. And we're all so connected. And there's no difference in the emotions. Like you're not different. The shame you feel is not different than the shame I feel, or the sadness or the anger, like the parts of us that we want to hide or we feel like aren't good enough. I'm like, we're all human. We're all in the same avatars. Sure, you may feel the emotion a little bit stronger at times, but we all get it. We've all been there. And I think the more that we're helping to raise consciousness and the more that we're helping to raise this awareness, you start to realize that more and more, and you start to come more from that loving place. It's almost very angelic, right? And there's no judgment. Like, I see you, I love you, and you're okay. And we're all in this together. There's no judgment. Nobody's hunting you down. Nobody wants to hurt you. You know what I mean? And
that's what I love about this work specifically, because it's open to anything at all. So what we do in this work, one of the biggest concepts is those who are excluded will be included in later generations. So what we do is we include all family members with love, no matter how it was, no matter what they did. We bring them in with love. We bring them into the field. That's kind of my job as facilitators, bring in those people with love, without judgment. And so that's what I've learned a lot about is non-judgment.
Cool. I have a question for you. Yeah. So if someone is dealing with, say, an eating disorder, or they're having problems with their body, stuff like that, how would you handle somebody like that?
Yeah, well, I would ask different questions about ancestors. The first thing that would come up is mothers are very connected with what we eat because it's what we're taking in with life. Okay. So we're in our mother's belly, right?
Yes.
So I would probably ask questions specifically about what happened with your mother. Or it could also be generationally, where you came from a region where there was famines and a lot of people died, right?
Okay.
And so this person, it's kind of like wanting to follow in the footsteps of my ancestors. And so I carry this pattern or this thing. So
that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah,
so it's like a subconscious, like...
Yeah, it's genetic. You might not be conscious. And that's what this work is about, is bringing it to the surface so you know at least where it comes from. And then you have a choice, a conscious choice. Do I want to continue with this? And we would do the process, feel the emotions, whatever it was. So if it was that kind of regional thing, we might bring in, depending how many people are in the group, we could bring in as many as I'm called to bring in. And then have this person also, after the constellation, honor their ancestors in a new way. So maybe if they know where there's a graveyard, they can go and honor their ancestors and say, I will live for you.
Oh, right? Wow.
And I will take all the good that you could give to me and leave the rest with you and not follow in those footsteps and live my life to its fullest.
Gives me goosebumps like crazy. Which again, I love about it because it's so much bigger, right? We always look at things so like the magnifying glass, like it's just this problem and what caused it here and around us. And we don't realize that, again, what's your genetic coding? What are you connected to? What's the message that's being passed down? Like there's so many layers to it.
And so that's how I see it, is it didn't start with you, whatever it is. Any issues at all. It's like,
blame the person
where did it come from?
It wasn't me. Go 5 grandmothers back.
But even her, it's not her fault either, because it started somewhere else too. So
it was her grandmother's grandmother. That's what's great about this work. So can you tell me a little bit about your book?
Yeah, so this book, it came out February 2nd, 2022.
Okay.
I self-published it with my company, Vibrate to Create. And it talks about my journey. So it's probably just a small portion of the book that talks about the hardships I faced that led me into my own spiritual path of searching for metaphysical help, different ways to heal, because the Western world wasn't really helping me in the ways I wanted it to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned many different modalities and met many teachers. So it talks about that. Then it talks about some of the lessons, life philosophies that I learned from all of these teachers. So just kind of bringing together a big portion of my life into one small little book.
If you could give our audience one seed of advice, what would that be?
Wow, there's so much I could say, but I will definitely say for anybody who is going through a really hard time of their life, and I know for a lot of people this is kind of a hard time, what I would say is, at least from my journey and the things that I learned, there's always, like in the book, actually, there's a specific chapter called The Sun Always Comes Back. And it was a realization I had where I went to the beach and I was just watching the sunset. And I had this thought of like, the sun comes back every single morning. And it was just this deeper realization of, even if I'm in the darkness, the sun will come back, and holding on to that hope and faith that it will come back. And it has always come back for me as well. And I'm so happy for the times that I really pushed forward and kept going on in life and looking for where is the light, because laughter is always fun. So that's the thing I would really like to share for those people.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alexis, for sharing so much wisdom, so many tips. I definitely want to do more work now in family constellation.
Yeah, it is really beautiful work. I do workshops. I have some in San Diego that happen.
Yeah, I know. I definitely got to
Yeah,
come. I just
I'll
think
tell you.
dancing in the different energies, because also when you do get to dance in other people's energies, you get a whole different perspective. It's almost like you stepped into a whole other world. And again, it makes you feel less identified with anything. It's just like we are all living our own storyline.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I would say if you can come, then we'd love to have you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely have to have you back on.
Awesome.
I hope you guys learned tons of stuff today, especially about family trauma. And I hope you got some great tips and knowing that you are not alone. And until next time, you guys keep tapping in. If you want more, please join our community at marisagrieco.com.